Hey, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to Shadow at Night for Monday, December the 30th, 2024. This is going to be the last time I talk to you before the new year, unless the world falls apart, in which case I will come on and tell you. If you haven't noticed, the world is falling to pieces, or if there's an election called or something, I believe an election is very, very imminent, and I'll tell you why in just a few moments. It's obvious if you've been following, but some people haven't because it's the holiday season and they're distracted by arguing with family, not about this even, just about basic family stuff. Or they're actually having a good time celebrating with friends and family they haven't seen in quite some time. Whatever the case, the news kind of takes a back seat this time of year. So that's one of the reasons I'm here during the holiday season to fill you guys in, even though I understand that there are several sources to get your news from. As long as you're staying away from that left-wing corporate media, that's all I ask. There's all kinds of great, informative, trustworthy independents on the air that you can watch at your fingertips. That's the other thing about this. It's available whenever you want it. You don't have to watch live. You can watch later. Let's get the shares and likes up on this show, you guys. We really need it. If we want to get some great big names as guests on this show in 2025, we're going to need to make the show bigger. So we're very close to 60,000 followers on Facebook. If you're not following the show on Facebook right now, please, I ask you, go follow the Shadow Davis Show, SHADOE, not W. There's a lot of duplicates out there, a lot of impersonators out there. Make sure you're following the right one. I think there's about 57,000 followers right now. Let's get it up to 60 in the next few days. YouTube's kind of weak, only about 2,300 followers on there. Let's get that up to 3,000. Rumble, we're very close to 7,000, so let's break 7,000 in the next couple of weeks. Follow, get this show out, and who knows, with all the censorship that goes on, this show might get taken down probably on Facebook, on Meta, and on YouTube because I said something wrong. You're going to want to find an alternative, so follow on Rumble, on X. Get this out on X as well. We've got 11,500 followers on X, or become an all-access member at shadowdavis.com. You can see it at the bottom of the screen on the thumbnail, Shadow Davis, SHADOEDAVIS.com, and we'll see you there for the extension just after 9 o'clock Central tonight. And tonight, we're going to run some video from 1962 from a guy called Dan Smoot, who was back then warning us about a one world government. So why is there an election coming? We're going to get to that in just a second. And how many Indian immigrants from India have come to Canada in 2024? We haven't got the exact numbers yet. We do from the first 7 months of the year and then the projection for the entire year. And it's alarming. It's alarming. So if you're seeing a lot of turbans out there, you're not going crazy. There are, and I'm not talking about the past 10 years, just the past year. How many Indian immigrants have arrived in Canada as temporary workers or students and just decided to stay? They're not going back, even though the Trudeau government says they have to. And we trust that they will on their own merit, on their word. Right? Shadow at Night live stream is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver, CanadaNanoSilver.com. So I was cleaning the tub yesterday, and you know how intricate a job that can be. You got to bend over, and then you got to reach, and you got to get the corners. You got to make sure everything is clean. And I'm one of those guys, if I see one of those, dirty spot, if I missed a spot, I got to get in there. And so anyway, I stretched out my neck the wrong way yesterday, and I reached for the Recover Muscle Cream, and instant relief, man. 30 seconds later. Recover Muscle Cream from Canada Nano Silver. Experience the ultimate comfort and relaxation as Recover works its magic. Formulated with cutting-edge technology, the advanced muscle cream provides unparalleled relief, catering to your unique needs. You can get this on the website, CanadaNanoSilver.com. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.com. A new retail location was just added in Alberta last week. I think that makes 37 or 38 across the country. You can find out exactly where they are. There could be one right across the street from you. You never know. on the retail locations tab on Canada Nano Silver. And if you would like to become a retailer of these awesome products, get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.com. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.com. Quickly to the comments. Let's see who's here tonight. Hello, Barb and Julie and Bran and Kevin and Mireille and Robert. Francesca's watching in Calgary. Hello, Shelley. Happy New Year. Hello, Sheila, watching in Oshawa. Jason is watching tonight, says there's a video going around with the former Defense Minister of Canada talking about real UFO intelligent life. What? I haven't seen that. Jason, could you send that to me, please? I would love to see that. And if I'd known about it 10 minutes ago, it would be on the show tonight. Hello, Lorraine in Newfoundland. So Sheeta's watching in Kingston, Ontario. Carolyn in Port Colborne, Ontario. Barb's watching tonight. Rita, Marianne in Marsh Lake in the Yukon. Cool. Bren is watching tonight. Kevin, Hope. Wayne's watching on X. Susan's on Facebook. Kev from Canada Nano Silver is on Facebook as well. Kathy, Mimi. So you guys know the drill. Again, like, share, get this out there to as many people as you possibly can, and follow. If you follow this show on just one of these platforms, and I'm on 7 tonight, make sure you've at least got a backup there. So if you watch on Facebook, at least go ahead and follow on X. If you watch on YouTube, go ahead and follow on Rumble. Make sure, because I never know when these censorship platforms are going to take me down. All right. So before we begin tonight, we've talked about smart cities. We've talked about the 15-minute city plan. We've talked about the UN compact strategy, the immigration compact strategy signed by Canada about 7 or 8 years ago now. So this is the latest one. And note the name in the upper corner here. This is from the website of M. Richard or Richard Associates.ca. These guys seem to be involved, at least in Manitoba, in all of these 15-minute city / smart city projects, even if they're small towns like Emerson, Franklin. So Emerson, Franklin, which is right on the border of the United States, steaming ahead, creating a shared vision for Emerson, Franklin. They need to change things somehow in a town of, I think it's less than 1,000 people. Steaming ahead is a community plan that's intended to manage future growth and change in the community over the next 10 to 20 years. Yeah, they might get an extra 50 people by then. This is crazy. This is about a half an hour south of that town I was telling you about 2 months ago, Morris. Morris is a town of about 3,000 people. And for some reason in Morris, they need to have a transportation plan. It's urgent. And of course, they need a property management plan and land management and all of that stuff. But this is a comprehensive guide for land use, zoning, housing, recreation, transportation, infrastructure, as well as rural and agricultural preservation under the guise of the UN SDGs. All 17 of them, baby. All that language is in this plan. Where are we at in the process, they ask. On Monday, January 20th, this month or next month, 3 weeks from now, from 9 a.m. to noon, Emerson Franklin Council will hold a public hearing to receive comments and feedback from the public on the municipality's new development plan bylaw. Emerson Franklin steaming ahead. Oh, and by the way, guys, this is the second reading. Once they get past this one, they're going to go ahead and make all this stuff law, and then they're just going to come and do what they're going to do right on your property. So if I'm you, and if I live in this municipality or a neighboring municipality, because all of the municipalities in Manitoba are obligated by law to come up with one of these plans from the provincial government under the PCs, by the way, the Progressive Conservatives, not the NDP, you've got to go and make a stink about it. And you've got to go look up to see if your community has got one of these things. It's very simple to do that. Go to Google and write in the name of your municipality and then plan, 2050 plan or 2030 plan. And guess what's going to come up? What's going to come up on the very first item or the second item is going to be one of these plans, probably from M. Richard and Associates.ca. So January 20th in Emerson, Franklin, that's when you guys can go. And by the way, find out more at mrichardassociates.ca. Again, that is mrichardassociates.ca. All right. There's an election coming. Believe it or not, I don't think Justin Trudeau is resigning, and I'll show you why in just a couple of minutes. But look at this. This is the, I think Trudeau actually believes that he can turn things around and save the Liberal Party from certain death. And it's not just death. I mean, we're talking about death. We are talking big time here. These are the seat projections from this guy here, Charitiste, who's been doing this apparently, Real Albanian Pat. He's been doing these number breakouts for a number of years now. And this is based on the latest Angus Reid poll that came out yesterday or maybe Friday. The Conservatives are projected to get 241 seats. That's plus 122 from where they stood at the last election in 2021. The Bloc, 58 seats. 58 seats. They're at 32 right now. The NDP would go up by 13 somehow, by some miracle, to 38 seats. The Liberals, look at that, 6. Greens, nothing. I don't see the PPC on here either. For all you PPC bros and sisters, I'm sorry, but it's not happening. I'll explain what I think they should do. I've told Max Bernier this to his face, by the way, in case you don't know. And in case you think I'm scared to do it, I'm not, because I've said this to him. And he said, no, that never happened. But anyway, that, my friends, is what it looks like as far as the seat breakout. Now, as far as the percentages, Conservatives at 45%, the NDP's at 21%, the Liberals at 16%. The Bloc's at 11%. So the Bloc is eating the Liberals' lunch in Quebec. 11 nationally? What are they at? I wonder what they're at in Quebec. Probably 45%. Greens are down at 3%, and look at the PPC there. They're at 1%. Now, I ask this not as a jab. I'm not taking any jabs here at anybody who still believes in the People's Party of Canada. I wouldn't do that. But my question is valid. You guys at the People's Party were very happy at 8%. You guys were at 8% for a time. I believe it was during the 2021 campaign. 8%. So where did those 7% of people go? Did they just vanish? Did they go back to the Conservatives? What happened to that 7% of people who were fully supportive of the People's Party of Canada back in 2021? I think that's a very interesting question. Now, Pierre Poilievre posted this on his X today. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Eastern, I will release a New Year's movie. Don't miss it. And in here, he's got Trudeau, obviously. There's Freeland. There's Guilbeault. Can't make out who that is. You guys know who that is? Can you see that? This is, what's his name? The health minister. But this one here, I can't make that out. Is that Melanie Joly? Anyway, that's tomorrow morning. In case you're interested in seeing Pierre Poilievre's New Year's movie. Now, here's why I think an election is just around the corner. This is why I think that non-confidence motion that's going to go to committee on January 7th is going to work. Even though Charlie Angus of the NDP says he's going to vote against it. And he can say that because he's not running in the next election. So he can say whatever he wants. I believe any NDP MP who's running in the next election will listen to Jagmeet Singh, who said already that he will vote out this Liberal government at the first opportunity. And he's campaigning right now. This was released yesterday.
The Canadian dream is a good job that gets you a home and a fridge full of groceries with enough left over to save for vacations. A country where we take care of our neighbors and healthcare is there as soon as you need it. But Justin Trudeau and his government keep letting people down. And there's another threat to the middle class. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives will take from you to give more to CEOs. It's favors and giveaways for billionaires while they cut healthcare, housing, and pensions. I got into politics to fight for people. It's why I fought for dental care, even when Justin Trudeau said no. It's why I won't let Pierre Poilievre cut your healthcare or let Donald Trump take your job. I don't back down. I don't give up. I'm always ready to fight. Stand with me this time. No matter who you voted for in the past, together we can fix healthcare, build homes you can afford, and lower your bills with a government that works for you for a change.
2025 is just around the corner, and that means that we're almost in an election year. Our Liberal plan has been investing in you to deliver $10 a day childcare, dental care, and pharmacare, and more affordable homes. But our work to build a strong economy that works for all Canadians isn't done. And all of our progress is at stake with Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party pushing for deep cuts to the programs Canadians rely on. Only with your support can we keep building a better future for everyone.
Yeah, that's him, all right.
All right, we got to go back and see that. We got to go back and see that again. That last part of the video there, I threw that in. Some guy in BC was sitting in the same restaurant as Justin Trudeau, right across the aisleway from him, right across in the next booth over. And he noticed, oh, look, there's Trudeau. So he his phone, the blackface thing, and oh, yeah, that's him, all right. We got to see that.
Programs that Canadians rely on. Only with your support can we keep building a better future for everyone.
Yeah, that's him, all right.
That video of Trudeau, by the way, not the one of him waving his hands around in the restaurant, but the video of, hey, it's an election year and we need to protect the programs that we've put in place from the evil Pierre Poilievre as he munches on that apple. That's new. Now, the Liberals released a pseudo-campaign ad last week before Christmas, and it did not include Justin Trudeau. So I believe that Justin Trudeau has decided to ignore the Rebel caucus in the Liberal Party and forge ahead into the next election. He knows he hasn't got time if he waits until April or May. By then, the Liberal MPs will have found a way to get rid of him somehow using some deep and dark party mechanism from probably 1903. He knows something is amiss, and so he wants to get it over with. And I believe that he believes that he is the only one who can save Canada from the jaws of Pierre Poilievre. Interesting. Here is Justin Trudeau 2 years ago.
7 years ago, one of the things that we put forward, and I remember saying this a whole bunch of times, attack politics, divisive politics, negative, stirring up of hate and fear and differences. The dirty secret is they work. Mm-hmm. Even back in 2015, they work to get you elected.
Sure, yeah.
You can do that. You can mobilize and get elected. It's just
unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. The unacceptable was unacceptable and unacceptable. Unacceptable. We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that.
No, they didn't. 80%, which is bad enough, but it wasn't 90. This is from the last federal election, and in my opinion, should be a commercial for the Conservative Party of Canada in the next election campaign.
Both the tone and the policies of my government changed drastically on the eve and during the last election campaign. A decision was made to wedge, to divide, and to stigmatize.
We're not a country that makes vaccination mandatory, for example. I'm just concerned about the fairness aspects of that as well.
We have made the decision that federal public servants need to be fully vaccinated. That is something that we're also applying to everyone who gets on a plane or a train in the coming months in Canada.
We're going to make sure that people who choose not to get vaccinated don't get on a plane or a train, don't get to work in the public service, don't get by working with the provinces on vaccine certifications and mandates, don't get to go to movie theaters or gyms or restaurants and other non-essential services.
Now, people have the choice not to get vaccinated, but there will be consequences for those choices.
Bottom line is, if anyone who doesn't have a legitimate medical reason for not getting fully vaccinated chooses to not get vaccinated, there will be consequences.
You don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated.
Now, hold on. Let's go back just a little bit here. By the way, that's Joel Lightbound. He is the Liberal MP speaking out at the beginning of that
To
video.
not get vaccinated, there will be consequences.
You don't want to get vaccinated.
Okay, do you see this here? This is Trudeau in Calgary, in the riding Calgary Skyview, which was represented, still is represented by George Shahal. George Shahal is a Liberal MP who released a letter publicly last Friday actually demanding that the Prime Minister step down. So even as the pressure increases from the Liberal Rebel Caucus, Trudeau, I believe, is digging his heels in, and he will lead the party in the next election. So let's get back to let's get back to the PPC for a second. They're at 1% in the latest Angus Reid poll, as I showed you. What's the problem there? How come people don't want to vote PPC? I mean, I've said this before, and I think it bears repeating, that of all the platforms out there, and the PPC's platform has remained the same ever since their inception. You can go look at it online. Of all the platforms out there, this is the one that I personally agree with the most. Yes, there are certain issues that Pierre Poilievre just won't discuss, or when he does discuss them, he's very, very milquetoast about it. And he still supports the war in Ukraine till the bitter end, which is insane. So I'm sure there's some people whispering in his ear within the Conservative Party of Canada from both sides. You've probably got people like Michelle Rempel, who's saying, yeah, Ukraine, it's a good thing. And then Leslyn Lewis on the other side saying, you know what? No, but there's not enough Leslyn Lewises out there. So what I think is the PPC needs to, it may be too late for this. And Max Bernier has said, no, never. But I believe the PPC needs to go back to the Conservative Party of Canada, even if it's only just to get these ideas within that party and talk to other MPs and get a voice in the House of Commons. Here's Max Bernier, 2 separate clips, 2 years or 3 years apart.
Of big governments keep saying that we need more government programs and more government spending to help the poor because they are being treated unfairly in a free economy. But we know that that is completely nonsense. Hundreds of millions of people, the poorest people of the world, have been left out poverty in China, in India, and in other third world countries in recent decades.
He's talking about China, which is a full-blown communist nation, lifting their people out of poverty with smaller government. What is he even talking about here? And I asked him about this speech during an interview a couple of years ago, and he kind of skirted around the question.
Because they have less government and more freedom. It is not because they have a huge government. It's because they have a government that gives freedom to people, a government like we.
He's talking about China, communist, full totalitarian government who locked people down. Remember that video from China during the pandemic where people were locked in their apartments for weeks and weeks on end, and they were on their balconies screaming. And Max Bernier, now this is 2017, so I will say that, talking about how China gives its people freedom. He was still a member of the Conservatives at this point, by the way, as well. So maybe he had to say these things.
We used to have here in Canada before Trudeau has been elected.
I know you've got ideas on pipelines and immigration, and we'll get to that. But I got to ask you first, and I'm following you on Twitter, why have you embraced and supported this idea that Canada could be destroyed, your term, by what you call global government?
What I said.
Now, he's right here. He is saying the right things. And this host of CTV is having none of it. He's calling him out, and he's being a dick about it, to be completely honest. But watch Max's reaction here. The smile. I don't think that's a good thing.
Was very clear and based on facts. In 2010, Justin Trudeau, member of parliament, promote a campaign by the UN, the UNPA website, to create a world parliament that will have legislation and laws that are binding for countries. So the question is very legitimate to ask Justin Trudeau if he still believes that we must have a world parliament like maybe the European Parliament that will make laws.
Very valid points. Absolutely. Very, very valid points. The CTV host still making fun.
That will apply to Canada. So
Okay,
I think that's a
Max,
legitimate question.
See, look at the smirk on his face. Like, why does he think this is such a joke? Max actually brought up some very good examples. The EU Parliament, for example, those countries there are suffering because they've lost a lot of their sovereignty to the EU Parliament. They can't make their own laws. That's one of the reasons that Britain wanted out of it. Remember Brexit?
Question.
Okay, but that's not, if you want to ask a legitimate question, but here's my concern. You tweeted in capital letters, is he, Justin Trudeau, loyal to Canada or loyal to a future world government that will destroy Canada? You know, this kind of world government is often associated, in your own words, with paranoid, conspiracy-minded, anti-global.
Now, I don't recall Max ever saying that. So this guy is quoting Max, trying to quote Max, and Max never said those things.
That this is I understand he actually signed this. I've gone to the website and I've read it. But you and I both know.
And he even admits to reading what Max is talking about.
The chances of this happening are next to nothing. Why are you using this to get attention? Is it a sign of desperation?
No, absolutely not. Because the question it is not if that parliament will happen in 10 years or 20 years from now. The question is, we have a prime minister in office right now that believes in a world parliament, and he is making decision with that belief.
But Maxime Bernier, why are you aligning? You know the fellow travelers with this kind of stuff. You know the people that peddle this kind of stuff. It's marginalized stuff. We've got real.
You see, look at this guy. It's not marginalized. It's not marginalized at all. Now, remember, this is 5 years ago. Things have changed a lot. I believe we have penetrated the mainstream a lot more than we had in 2019. And this guy has no excuse for acting the way he is. But how does Max handle it is my question. Does he handle it with the grace of a national leader?
Real issues happening now. I've known you for a long time. Doesn't this make you look like a desperate person reaching for extreme views so you can get some attention? Doesn't it undermine your credibility?
Absolutely not. I'm speaking about real stuff, like you said, real policies, and I'm the only politician to speak about that.
Well, that's not completely true. Like I mentioned, Raelyn Lewis, and there have been a few inside the Conservative caucus who have come out and said these things. One of them was expelled, Derek Sloan. The others are still a part of the Conservative caucus, though. So, in my opinion, Max, this People's Party of Canada does not have any roots in this country. They were a flash in the pan during the pandemic because Max said and did a number of things that no other politician would say and do. And he got some traction from that. But the People's Party as an entity has no real reason to exist right now as far as the normies in Canada are concerned. The normies will be happy just to get rid of Justin Trudeau. But we need Max's input. We need these ideas that he has to get through to Pierre Poilievre somehow. Raelyn Lewis is doing that. And I'm sure there are a few others inside the CPC caucus who are doing that. But I believe, and this is not about vote splitting, because right now, I mean, the People's Party has got 1%, the Conservatives have got 45%. The Conservatives do not need the People's Party to join. They just don't. But we need Max's voice and what he's saying in the House of Commons. And I believe the only way for that to happen is for Max to go back to Pierre and say, look, you know what? Made a mistake. Things have changed now. And if you'll listen to me and maybe make me a minister, we can do some good together. And then the People's Party goes away. I think that's the only way to do it. Some people have said in the past, well, it takes time for a new national party to emerge and gain traction. And I'd say that's probably true. But there needs to be a reason for the People's Party to exist. If you want to talk about the Reform Party, I've already explained this. The Reform Party was the West wanting in. That was wasn't a Western separation party. It was a Western alienation party. We had enough of being second-class citizens to people in Quebec and Ontario. And so that's what the Reform Party was. And later it merged into the Canadian Alliance. Likewise with the Bloc, they have a regional area that they rally for. And that's why they're so successful in Quebec. If the Bloc tried to run candidates anywhere else in the country, they'd be destroyed. But the PPC does not have that kind of a base. Now, the only other option that I can come up with for the People's Party of Canada is this. And I've said this before, but you may have missed it. They need to concentrate on 20 to 30 ridings where they think they might have the best chance to win. Those ridings would be rural ridings, probably in the Maritimes. I think they could perform well in the Maritimes if they plaster the ridings they need to plaster with enough force. Same in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, the BC interior, and of course, Alberta. And then maybe if they go hard and blitz these 20 to 30 ridings, they might come out with 5, 7, 10 seats. And then we would have opposition from the right for Pierre Poilievre that he would absolutely have to listen to. And maybe if the PPC works hard enough, they can actually become official party status in the House of Commons, get 12 seats, and who knows what could happen after that. But I don't know if that's what their plan is. And I haven't heard a lot from Max or anybody else in the PPC on social media in the past few months at all. And with an election looming, like I think there's going to be in the next month, maybe month and a half, they need to start becoming highly visible again. Now, I'm not looking at the comments right now, so I don't know what you guys are saying. I'll have a look later. But, and it's not that you have to agree with me. It's not that you have to yell and scream and say, you're just a Poilievre guy. And that's not it. I just look at things from a reality basis. And when you see polls that come out like that, I mean, if this were radio ratings, and this is pretty close to the same thing that I would look at, polls versus radio ratings when I was working in radio. If I was 1% and my competition was at 47%, the owners of that radio station would turn the lights up. That'd be it. Sorry, man, we're done. Or they change the format and try and do something different to get people's attention. But that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Being at 1%. When your main competition is at 45%. The only other option Trudeau has right now, and I don't think he's going to take this, even though there's been a lot of speculation about it, is proroguing Parliament. So here's an article written in 2009, about a year or 6 months maybe after Stephen Harper prorogued Parliament to stop that Liberal NDP bloc coalition from taking over government in the House of Commons, written by Andrew Hurd. Andrew is the chief of the Department of Political Science at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. So this is a very interesting article, actually. The Governor General has reached a very difficult and historic decision in agreeing to the Prime Minister's request to prorogue Parliament December 4th, 2008. While there are sound arguments to justify that decision, the balance of arguments reveals this to be a dangerous precedent, allowing future prime ministers to justify fundamental abuses of power. Ooh. This decision also greatly undermined the ability of newly elected legislators to freely decide who has their confidence to govern following an election. It's important to work through the issues involved in this decision as they relate to fundamental principles that all future governors general must try and balance in a timely constitutional crisis. A difficult decision implies there are good reasons to decide in either direction, and there are several to defend the decision to prorogue. First and foremost, the Governor General has a duty to intervene in the political process as little as possible. She is appointed and must allow ample room to let the elected politicians try to resolve crises between themselves. They alone are directly accountable to the electorate and should be given considerable latitude to resolve the crisis. And I believe that's what's going on right now. Our governor general is looking at the Liberal Party going, guys can't fix this. There's going to be a problem. You're going to have an election, or you're going to have to get rid of Trudeau somehow, and you can't. Secondly, the Governor General is bound to normally act on any constitutional advice offered by a prime minister who commands confidence of a majority of the House of Commons. And right now, say what you will, according to the last vote of non-confidence in the House, Trudeau had the confidence of the House because of Jagmeet Singh. So he can take that to the Governor General, even though we all know a lot has happened between then and now. Since again, this is from 2009. Since the Conservative government won the confidence votes held on the the speech from the throne last week, on the last week of November, Mr. Harper could apparently address the Governor General with authority. So anyway, what this guy is talking about is, should a Governor General allow prorogement solely based upon the advice of the Prime Minister? And on what grounds and what representation does the Prime Minister have? Does the Prime Minister go in to the Governor General's place and say, hey, look, I got the confidence of the House and we need to prorogue right now? Could Trudeau actually do that and pull the wool over the Governor General's eyes, Mary Simon's eyes, and say, hey, we got a mess. We got a mess. My own caucus is revolting against me right now, and they're either going to vote non-confidence, replace me, or, So what's the Governor General supposed to say about that? If she is acting in the best interest of the country, she does not allow Trudeau's request for prorogement. And maybe that's what's already happened. Maybe Trudeau has already gone to Mary Simon and said, look, we have to prorogue Parliament. My party needs to come up with a new leader. I'm going to resign. Yeah, but we've got this, she may have said, we've got this Trump thing coming up, these 25% tariffs, and nobody to negotiate with him on that, because we've got a government in crisis and our Parliament is prorogued. And we know that Trump doesn't like you, Mr. Prime Minister. And he doesn't. So I think she may have already denied him. And that's why we have an election looming. That's why Singh, that's why Trudeau have both released campaign announcements already. And that's why Poilievre is releasing that end-of-year movie tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Eastern. That's only my opinion, you guys. Take it for what it's worth. Now, we heard the stories this past summer of Indian immigrants, people from India, defecating in public. We've seen pictures. We've seen video. And here is a TED Talk. The way this video is going to start is with a TED Talk from 2015, and then we're going to go into what's been happening in Canada over the last year. Have a look.
India has a lot to be proud of. Its democratic tradition, its diversity, its contributions in art, architecture, and science, and yoga. But images like this one taint India's reputation. So why is this image associated with India? Well, if this circle represents all of the open defecation that happens in the world, this is the fraction that happens in India. And this is the fraction that happens only in rural India. 65% of rural Indians defecate in the open. So what that means is that most of the open defecation that happens in the world happens in rural India, and most rural Indians defecate in the open. Every day, 500 million people in villages in India go in the fields rather than use a toilet or a latrine. That's bigger than the population of the United States. And this is a really important issue because open defecation is really bad for child health. Every year, hundreds of thousands of children die in India because of exposure to the bacteria in feces. And those that survive are physically and cognitively stunted because of that exposure.
Somebody called in about somebody posting things on TikTok about East Indians defecating on the beach.
It was a big shock to me to open my door to see the officer asking me to come out and then stepping in and having a whole conversation about what I'm posting on social media, which is harming nobody. I want people to know because it is a biohazard. It's the safety and well-being of the kids and the visitors that want to go use the beach. I'm just telling everybody what I know to be true, and a lot of people are speaking up about it.
Turning the world's longest freshwater beach into a toilet by defecating and burying diapers in the sand. And I am with Natty. She is the one that tipped off the world, if you will, to this horrible practice. She went on TikTok and opined about this behavior. Let's throw to an excerpt of that right now in case you missed it.
I've had to yell at people for on the borderline property line of my backyard. And yes, it was Indian families. So that's not false. You can check my town's page where they say there are Indian people pooping on our beach, because they're digging holes and they're pooping and putting tents up because they don't want to go to the washrooms.
Mm-hmm. All right. You may have noticed a lot of people probably from India in your city or town, not just this past year, but in the last 10 years, let's just say. I know here in Winnipeg, there are lots of them. There are times where you feel like you're a visitor in your own country, and it's so weird. It's incredibly strange to feel that way. You go into a grocery store and everybody's brown. And again, I have no problem with the color of people's skin or where they're from, but why so many? And why so quickly? And why India? And why does nobody, aside from people like us, talk about India? It's always China or Ukraine or Russia or Iran or the Muslims. And don't get me wrong, the Muslims have created a problem. Not all Muslims. Again, a small faction of them with the Palestinian thing. But let's have a look here. This comes from Immig Canada. Immig. IMMIG Canada. immigcanada.com. This is the number of new permanent residents in 2024. Well, the first 7 months of 2024 and where they're from. India, 86,855. The next closest is the Philippines, as you can see, 20,645. Then China with 19,000. Nigeria, 12.2. Cameroon, 10.9. Afghanistan, 8.9. Eritrea, 7.8. Iran, 7.8. And the projected number for the end of the year total, 2024, from India, 148,894. Understand that that number is more than number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7 combined. What is it about Canada that draws people from India? Are we looking for immigration, especially from India? What's the deal with Indian immigration in Canada? 148,894. And what's it been like over the past 10 years? Well, let's multiply that number by 10 and come up with a number of 1.5 million. Now, maybe it hasn't been that big. So let's just say 1 million new residents, permanent residents from India in the past 10 years have come to Canada. Are they pooping on Wasaga Beach? Absolutely they are. This number here, 148,894, if you look up census metropolitan areas in Canada, you'll see that that number is roughly the population of Kingston, Ontario. Maybe a little smaller. I think Kingston's grown a little bit in the last 5 or 10 years, might be around 165 now. But that's pretty close. 148,894 694 new permanent residents that have come from India. And the China, obviously, that's another one, 32,666, ironically, the number of the beast. All right. Our friend Raelyn Fox, proud Manitoban, has done a part 3 of her series, Those Books Aren't in My Kids' Schools. Let's have a look.
Those Books Aren't in My Kids' School. Part 3. For round 3, we're going to skip on over to the Brandon School Division. Now, despite Brandon only having 4 high schools and only 3 out of 4 of those having their library catalog online, I was quite disappointed to see how large your porn selection is. I also see you guys have experienced some excitement over the last couple of years. This headline reads, "Cheers as Brandon School Division rejects call to remove library books on sexuality, gender identity." I also quickly want to direct your attention to the bottom of the screenshot. Not sure if the text is large enough for you to make out, but it says, "Warning, this story contains descriptions of bullying and mentions suicide." They're issuing a trigger warning to grown adults about bullying and the mere mention of suicide. Oh boy, just wait until you hear what's being made available to your kids in school. On that note, let's see exactly what kind of material that all these parents are so worked up about. So again, I've only chosen a few books to highlight. This is in no way a complete list of all the porn books available within your schools. As I've said in my previous videos, I will apologize for what I am about to read aloud, but you cannot fully comprehend the vulgarity of these books without hearing them yourselves. So this is your final warning to ensure that there are no children within earshot. Here we go. Book 1. People Kill People. Quote, "He unzipped his pants, freeing his erection, then pushed you down on the seat, forcing himself between your legs. You were wearing a skirt, putting nothing between him and you but thin panties." Book 2. Like a Love Story. Quote, "He kisses me, his tongue exploring every inch of my mouth, his body grinding against mine, sweaty and hot. He's hard, and I am too. We have a layer of protection between us now. He squeezes some lube onto him, then onto me. I wrap my legs around him, pulling him closer to me, or deeper into me, because he's in me now." Book 3. The Nowhere Girls. Quote, "His voice. Did you lock the door?" Another voice. "Yeah, no one's coming." A voice. "Turn on the lights, man. I want to see her." A hand on her mouth, shoving her voice back inside. She sees nothing. She is dying. She is dead. She is a whale carcass being torn apart by eels at the bottom of the sea. A voice. "Fuck, she's puking." A voice. "Just turn her over." It is morning and she is only mostly gone. Her hair is caked with puke. She hurts all over. She hurts inside. The floor is littered with crumpled clothes and a half dozen used condoms. Book 4. November 9. Quote, "As soon as his words brush over my mouth, he covers me in a deep kiss. My whole body tenses from the burst of pain that ripples through me as he pushes inside of me." Oh, and look, some lucky student in Vincent Massey currently has it checked out. Book 5. Crank. Quote, "Off came my shorts, down went his zipper. I realized I was in serious trouble. I'll scream. Go ahead, no one can hear you but skunks and coyotes." Still, as I opened my mouth, his hand slapped down on it. Those sublime muscles hardened. "Just relax, you'll love it." My brand new Victoria's Secrets shredded, and I felt the worst of Brennan pause, savoring my terror. "They all love it." I froze as he pushed inside me. There it is. Oh God, there it is. It went all right, with an audible tear. Pain mushroomed into agony, and all I could do was go stiff. "You weren't lying, you b****." I laid there, sobbing, as he worked and sweated over me, stoked by the monster. It took him a long time to finish. "Give me a line, I'll give you an encore." He pulled away, sticky and bloody. And once again, this book is checked out by a student at the Vincent Massey High School. Check your kids' rooms, parents. What I just read should remove all doubt in everyone's minds that these books contain pornography, and they're in our public school libraries. But don't just take my word for it. If you would like to check for yourself whether any of these books are in your child's school, I have provided the link to the website where you can do just that. Please note that only 28 out of 37 divisions in Manitoba use this system. And if you'd like a list of more books like the ones I just read to check for on your school catalog, a great resource I found is booklooks.org. If you are disturbed by the contents of these books and agree that they have no place in a public school library being made available to minors, I urge you to contact the Brandon School Division Board of Trustees. They are there to represent the interests of parents. If they refuse to acknowledge the harms caused by these materials being made available to minors, keep pushing. Sign up to speak at a board meeting. Go to local or alternative media. This needs to get out to all parents and all community members. Please help me do that by liking and sharing this video. Our children are the future, and they are worth protecting. So stand up, parents. It's time to take back our schools.
I like what she does, man. You can find her online, and her name is spelled Raelyn Fox. I think she actually goes by Fox Den, Raelyn Fox Den on Instagram, and that's her big platform. But you can find her, I think, mostly on every social media platform, TikTok even. Go find her, give her a like, give her some support. And she's putting it out there for parents. And this is not just a Manitoba problem, obviously. This is where Raelyn lives, and so she understands the systems here better than anywhere else. But this is a problem that exists in every province in this country. And the funding is coming directly from the federal government, possibly through NGOs, possibly through provincial governments, but it is coming from the federal government. Hopefully, Poilievre stops that when he takes office, whenever that happens to be. Look at this. This is from D-Trans, a D-Trans group on Reddit. These kids who think there's something they're not need better guidance from their parents. Look at what this one wrote. This is a cry for help. I haven't slept in over 24 hours because I was crying all night. I wish someone had stopped me. I wish my parents had kicked me out. I wish I had listened. I had a second chance already. When I stopped it after a month and my voice returned completely. Now, after 3 months of testosterone, I won't get lucky again. My voice isn't just swollen. It's dropped an octave. People keep saying I just have to wait a few months and my register will mostly return, but what if it doesn't? I feel like a circus freak. I can't stop crying. I was just starting to feel happy with my life too. Now I'm back to feeling suicidal 24/7. Is there any chance my voice will return? I don't care if it's people lying to me to make me feel better anymore. I just want some certainty. I effed up my life. For the first time in my life, I'm happy to be a girl, and this is what I get. It's like a nightmare I can't wake up from. How did my voice drop to a baritone level in 2 months? 2 months. That's not natural. It's too fast. It must be reversible, swelling. I just need something, anything, anyone to tell me that, yes, my voice is okay and it will return. I'm so desperate. Please. That is what's going on with the full sanction of governments at every level. Not just sanction, encouragement. Governments at every level in this country. Corporations, same thing. The story of Nicholas Tétrault from Montreal. Now, Nicholas has a son who nearly drowned, took him to the Children's Hospital in Montreal, and the Children's Hospital there said, there's nothing we can do. He's going to die. We're going to harvest his organs. Well, he was outraged by that. The story here, he's got a video he put on TikTok, but we're just going to show you who this man is. Nicholas Tétrault Past elected politician in Montreal, co-owner of 2 radio stations in Montreal, political scientist and businessman, in God We Trust. He also spends time in New Orleans, Louisiana. And here's his story.
Good day, everyone. Historical day for us, 26th of December, 30 days after leaving the Montreal children. 30 days. Our son is leaving the pediatric intensive care unit of one of the best hospitals in North America, Ochsner in New Orleans. An amazing, absolutely amazing pediatric intensive care unit. Our son, Arthur, who drowned October 8th, was at the Montreal Children. And at the Montreal Children Hospital, they said they would, and we have all the names and everything, and just watch out the next months and the weeks to come, what's gonna come. Just mark my words. We have the names of the people who have everything. These people wanted to unplug our son. Today, 30 days after leaving Montreal, where he was way overdrugged, they said to us he was good for garbage. They would harvest the organs and kill him. And they would unplug him as of November 29th. That's Quebec healthcare system for you. More to come. Today, 30 days after, you see, no ventilator. This is just for humidity. No ventilator. He breathes on his own, right? Today we're leaving the pediatric intensive care unit. Look at his stats. Huh? That's pretty amazing, right? They were saying that there was no way to control the dystonia or the brainstorming.
In case you didn't get this, because I didn't when I first watched it either, the Montreal Children's Hospital told him that we're going to take your son's going to die. We're going to harvest his organs, and there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we will do. And so the family took their son to New Orleans, to the hospital down there, and they saved his life miraculously in less than a month. And so that is what he's talking about now.
They were refusing treatments from the most advanced doctors in the world. They were calling him Montreal Children, giving him things to do to improve the condition of our son. Everything we asked for, they refused at the Montreal Children, including simple things like increasing the oxygen to 30% twice a day for 45 to 60 minutes, which has proven to give amazing results at the medical department of Louisiana State University. 38 years of research. We think we know it all in Canada. Telling you some heads are gonna fall. When I'm finished doing my investigation, our son, this is our pediatric room, intensive care unit. We're moving today after 30 days in a much lesser medical environment. We could even go home if we wanted to, but just by prudence, we decided, because here we decide, we pay, we have amazing service. We decided to say an extra 30 to 50 days, just to be sure, at a lesser level of care. But we could have gone home today and continue our medical treatments with the world specialist in hyperbaric treatment, Dr. Paul G. Harsh. And in Canada, we have the other top world specialist in pediatric hyperbaric medicine, Dr. Pierre Marois of Saint-Justine. But the collusional government of Trudeau blocked with Health Canada, Santé Canada, the use of hyperbaric medicine for cerebral palsy or drowned children. Shame on you. Some heads are gonna fall. I'm telling you, we're investigating this. In the meanwhile, if you want the best possible treatment for your children, Ochsner Hospital, New Orleans, Louisiana, intensive pediatric care unit. Impossible to get a better service than here. Impossible. In 30 days, our son is getting out. They wanted to throw him in the garbage. 30 days after, he's leaving the pediatric intensive care unit. Telling you, mark my words. It's the last thing we do, my wife and I. We're gonna help clean up the medical system, the public medical system in the province of Quebec. Mark my words. Bye. Thank you so much. Le 26 décembre, il quitte les soins intensifs. He's leaving December 26th, intensive care unit. Best team in the world, in the universe.
So what is the deal with the medical systems across our country? We know people who have been injured by the schmacks can't even get looked at in certain provinces if they bring that up. What could it be, doctor? I never suffered these things before the you-know-whats. Oh, it couldn't be that. Have you even looked? No, but I know it couldn't be that. Really? Why are certain treatments banned in Canada that have been proven scientifically to work? Why are people so defensive or supportive or both of our healthcare system when we know it's a mess? They have been talking about wait times repeatedly for decades now. They keep throwing more and more and more and more money into it. And what happens? Nothing. The wait times get worse. The care gets worse. The treatments available get less. What the hell's going on in Canada? And people are so proud. It's free, they say. It's not free. I couldn't afford the American style of healthcare. Maybe you could. And I'll tell you why. Because here in Canada, did you know that provinces, each province, depending on the province, spends 30 to 40% of their entire yearly budget on healthcare? So if you're looking at a province like Manitoba with a budget of $30 billion per year, $10 billion or more, or maybe a little less, of that money is going directly to healthcare. And you're paying the unions, and there are many different unions, to just take money from you. And we know of different schemes and scams that certain employees with hospitals and urgent care centers use to get double and triple time when they don't deserve it. They lie about being sick. They call in sick one hospital, and then they take a shift at another hospital for an emergency. It's a circle. In an emergency meeting, well, somebody is sick here, somebody is sick here. So they call in sick for their regular shift where they're only getting, single time, to go work a shift at a different medical center to get double or triple time. And they see that it works, so they keep doing it, and they become little connected groups inside of the union. And this has been exposed. It's an open secret, and nobody ever talks about it. And so what do you think that double or triple time is costing us in tax dollars? So if you had 30 to 40% less off your taxes, provincial, federal, because federal governments give provinces money for healthcare, right? There's health transfers every single year. Take 30 to 40% off your tax bill and watch what happens to your take-home pay. It's kind of incredible. Do the math. Last thing here, I'm going to go ahead and plug what's coming up in the extension tonight for the All Access folks on shadowdavis.com. Howard Smoot, known as Dan Smoot, died in 2003 at the age of 89, was a Federal Bureau of Investigation agent and a conservative political activist. And from 1957 to 1971, he published the Dan Smoot Report, which chronicled alleged communist infiltration in various sectors of American government and society. And he was talking about a one world government as early as 1960. Well, he released a video back in 1962 that we're going to play for you in the extension tonight. It's all about the difference between republic versus democracy. That's it for the show on social tonight. You guys don't forget, like and share, get it out there. If you're following me on only one platform, make it two tonight. Want to push our membership on Rumble past 7,000. Want to push our membership on Facebook past 60,000. Want to push our membership on YouTube over 3,000. Ooh, that's kind of low. And on X, I want to push it up over 12,000 in the next couple of weeks. Can we do it? I think we can if we work together. You have a great night. Happy New Year to you, and I'll catch you Thursday night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadow at Night live stream. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Bye for now.